And hello everyone, and welcome back to week 85 of our Minecraft Let's Play series. How are you all doing? I hope you're all doing very well this fine week. And let me just tell you, we've got a lot of things on this list that are probably going to take hours of recording. So you know what, we're just going to hop right into it. Starting with, as you know, the Villager Hall. Of course, we're still trying to get that light blue terracotta mason, but I do have a new way of doing this, kind of. It's not really that much of a change, but we'll get to it when we get to it. Then we have the how do we get here advancement, which I want to go ahead and build the contraption that the actual Minecraft wiki gives you for this advancement around the sculk shrieker we found last week. And then you might see on here that I have the ideas for a raid farm. You understand that correctly. A raid farm, meaning that hopefully this will be easier for me to do the raid portion of the advancement. And I believe I have the materials here, so we'll get to that later. Then of course we've got possible drown farm. That one's not as important, so we may or may not get to it this week. And then other things that we may or may not get to this week. Jelly statue we could work on, money village we can work on, and then we could possibly work on a new nether portal room. And I'm thinking if we do that, we might work on the end portal one. So that was a mouthful, but you guys know the drill. We're going to go ahead and first head off into the nether so that we can go ahead and work on our villagers. So I'll meet you guys in there. And so when we actually head into here, that you're going to see the difference of how this is, you know, different from the other weeks. I kind of repeat the same word there because this is a lot more villagers than I usually have. In this area, there are 17 villagers compared to our usual 8. But it's not going to change anything because we are going to do this the exact same way as we go ahead and shoot one off. Then we go ahead and break the minecart that the villager was in. And now I need to do that 16 more times, which is going to take a while for me, but I'll just meet you guys over the villager hall when I have that finished. Alright, it took me almost half an hour to get all these guys here. But now that we have them here, you know the drill. We're going to go ahead and trade with them their brick trades and then their stone trades. And now we have the trades that are kind of make or break first, because these will have their unique rock trades, which are like andesite, diorite, granite, and the polished variants, as well as dripstone. And essentially, we cannot take a villager that has polished andesite or polished granite, and this one actually has neither. That's surprising. Alright, so we'll give him a stack of diorite, and he has... so close. Alright, we need light blue, not regular blue. Goodbye, sir. And we're going to keep running these guys until hopefully either one gives us it, or we're going to run through 17 villagers. This guy has light gray glazed and cyan glazed. Don't need any glaze, sir. Thank you for your offer. This guy has blue and black glazed. A lot of blue today. This guy has red and lime terracotta. And this one has yellow and cyan. No thank you. I'm like 90% sure we're halfway through all these guys now, which worries me. Here we have brown and orange glaze. So nope. This one has yellow and white. And this one has blue again and lime again. Goodbye. Oh well, we tried. We definitely gave it a better effort than I have been for the past few weeks, but even that was not enough to take care of the one missing spot that we have here. So that's going to change something then, because, well, we've been doing masons for a long while now, and I'm kind of getting sick and tired of trading with these guys, so I think we're going to go ahead and take a break from doing the masons. Yes, we only have one left, but how long have we been trying for this one last guy? At least 3 weeks, I think. Maybe more, probably more. So instead of doing the masons, we're going to go ahead and move over onto this side and hopefully try getting the fishermen, because we have the fish farm as well as the spider farm and piglin bartering farm that allows us to go ahead and get string for these guys to trade with. So we're going to hope that we can get the fishermen a lot easier than the masons over there. And then I think after that, we're only missing the shepherds and then the cartographers and then the, you know, toolsmith and stuff like that. So while it is taking a while, we are getting close. But for now, that's going to be it for us doing some villager trading. So let's go ahead and head back over to our base where we can go ahead and get to work on the next thing on our list. But first, I actually need to take care of something before that because I'm going to need a bunch of rails, and you might notice that I don't have, a lot. I have 16 regular rails and 9 powered rails. And then if you come over to our iron and gold chests, I do actually have a decent bit of iron, which is not bad, but I don't have a lot of gold. But that's okay because we have a gold farm, but I would also like to get some iron because we're probably going to be spending a lot of it on making rails, so might as well get a decent bit of it. So naturally, to get both of those, I'm going to head into another, obviously, and head over to our pickle bartering system, right? But the issue with this thing at the moment is that this is quite full, like very full. Besides iron, it is full on like almost everything else. So what I'm gonna have to do is we're gonna need to go ahead and take all these shulker shells probably and make a bunch of shulker boxes and empty it out. Which, by the way, cleaning this out looks something like this. All of these are filled with items, mainly from that area over there. But we're gonna go ahead and take these back. And now we move all the items into our bulk storage, which honestly I probably could have condensed the boots and maybe even gotten rid of the books because we've got Soul Speed 3. Do we really need anything else? But I'm a hoarder apparently, so we're gonna keep them here. And now we can finally go ahead and head back to the nether, head over to our piglin farm so that we can get a bunch of gold from this, just like so. Then we go ahead and craft it all into actual gold, all the nuggets, throw the gold into our bartering system, flip the on switch for the minecarts, and now that the gold has somewhat distributed through the system, hit the power switch here, and now we get to see the items go through the system. There we go, perfect. And now I will be back when it's over and I'll show you guys how much iron we get from this. And from that full run of all that gold, we end up getting this many iron nuggets, which obviously isn't a lot, but let me go ahead and craft these into ingots. And this is how much iron we ended up getting: 25 blocks and 3 ingots, which obviously doesn't seem like a lot, because if you built like an actual iron farm, you'd get a lot more of this. But for what I have planned, it's gonna be enough. Not to mention, we went through so much that this whole blackstone chest is filled again alongside the gravel chest, so that's great. But I digress. Let's go ahead, head back to our base, and we'll decide upon whether working upon the how do we get here contraption or the raid farm when we get back. So I'll meet you guys over there. And I honestly think working upon the contraption will be the best bet for right now. So the raid farm will be the last thing we end up doing this week. This means that we are going to be taking all of these items, or at least all these building blocks right here, and essentially bringing them over to the sculk shrieker we found last week and building the entire thing around that sculk shrieker. So I'll meet you guys over there once I fly over there. So I've also realized that I never gave myself like an actual way of getting down here. So we're gonna take the slow way, and then I'm just gonna have to put down water when I get the chance. Alright, now that we are here, we need to build this around this sculk shrieker, and from what I understand, what we need is a 13 by 18 by 9 area. So I'm going to spend my time clearing that out, which is gonna be a little weird with this gap here, but we'll make it work. We gotta get beacons on here anyway, so I think what I might do is try and get the beacon set up so I at least have haste while I'm digging this out. At least that's what I'm going to try. We'll see if it actually works. There we go. Now this should be a little bit faster. Alright, there we go. So there is our area done, and I think honestly what we're going to start off first is getting the beacons in, because that just makes the most sense to me right now, which does mean I need to go ahead and dig all the way up, but that is also why I made this haste beacon. Alright, there we go. Now all we need to do is give one for strength 1 and regeneration, speed 2, jump boost 2, and resistance 2. And that kind of stops where all the easy things come from because, well, this contraption is very, very in-depth, so I'm mainly planning on just building it. We are going to have to uncover that shrieker, which terrifies me, but yeah, I'm going to plan on just building it, and I will try to describe this as best as I can. And you guys might see it like layer by layer. I might do that too. And now I've I've just realized something. I did not count this room correctly. This is one block too far this way and one block too short this way. And that matters because I can't move this shrieker, so I gotta move the entire room. And alright, here is the first layer of blocks that need to be placed down, at least level 0 essentially. Everything for the beacons was like 4 layers under, so we're technically on layer 5 of 9. Everything I've moved over 1 block, so this actually fits correctly now, and we, I guess, have an access port, which I guess is quite nice, but you can kind of see what we have here for stuff that we need. We've got the prismarine here for a conduit. We've got this chest area that I believe is going to house a dolphin, and then of course our shrieker is under here. I just haven't uncovered it because I didn't want to stand on it. You know what, I was going to build this by, you know, level by level, but I think honestly what might just be easier is building this portion by portion. So the next thing I'm going to do is build the thing that'll house the conduit. Alright, there we go. Full conduit. Took a little bit, but we got there. And I think now we'll work on making the containment for the dolphin. Alright, so actually this is going to be the like chamber for the dolphin to my knowledge. However, because I realized that we need to put a shulker in here, it's probably better that I go ahead and just not like build too much in this room so that there's like less for the shulker to spawn in, but I think we can still build the little contraption that's supposed to shoot us with all the potions, the arrows, stuff like that. And okay, I'm not entirely sure, but I think I have the entirety of the thing built now. I don't know, it looks really strange because the thing is, right, and I can't walk here, but yeah, we currently get the conduit effect, and I just realized I forgot to activate the other beacons. But yeah, we have the conduit effect, we have the beacons when I activate them. There is a trapdoor here that will hit us with a lot of potions, I believe, because there's a dispenser behind it. There's a dispenser down here, which I'm not actually too sure what that's for. Shrieker for the darkness effect. On that trapdoor, there should be a shulker, which we'll have to get in here, which is going to be a pain in the butt to get it there specifically. We might have to use a minecart specific just to get them down there. I'll be fine. And then I actually realized I was supposed to go ahead and waterlog all these for the dolphin, so I have done so. And I'm gonna also have to waterlog all of this so that we can get a dolphin down here, I believe. But other than that, I think that is everything that we had to build for this, and now it's just getting all the components together, which does bring us into our next thing, because like I said, we have a farm that I want to build, so let's go ahead and get started on that now. And that is, I want to go ahead and create the raid farm in our world, but there is a few things I need to talk about before we do so, because currently what we have here are the ingredients for the farm itself, and I only found out recently that this farm actually goes against one of my rules, because one of the rules I was trying to keep for myself for this world was the fact of I did not want to dupe TNT, and that is exactly what this farm does. However, I have also talked about possibly breaking those rules, seeing as we've gone far in this world, and now with most of the farms I've built, the only ones I'm really missing are those that do like duplication glitches or, you know, just other things like that. And I'm thinking that I might be willing to bend the rules a tiny bit. If you guys completely say that you don't like it, it's cheating, and after I build this, I might be willing to listen to reasoning and, you know, destroy the farm. But for now, I'm just going to keep going ahead with this, and I am going to go ahead, build this farm so that we can get some raid drops going, because what this farm usually produces is going to be like emeralds, redstone, glowstone, tomes of undying, that kind of stuff. So where I will meet you guys is over where our mob farms are. Alright, so we're gonna have to be building this out in an ocean, so this is where I have decided to do this. This is actually near our prismarine farm, wherever that is. Honestly, probably in that direction if I were to guess. So yeah, let us get building. And then towering up to Y levels 160. Now we have a platform with a hopper clock next to it. You know, with how complicated this build is getting already, I think what I'm going to do, instead of be like, oh, we've built this part of the build or this part of the build, I'm just going to give you guys an update about every, I don't know, 10ish minutes. That might be even too short, but we'll see. And we'll see like the progress of this thing being built. Of course, I'm going to be putting the tutorial in the description. So if you guys actually want to build this farm for yourself, you will have the ability to, but I'm not going to be able to go through this step by step, obviously, because this is supposed to take 3 hours. So I'll be back. All right, first 10-minute check. There is a lot of redstone components that I'm not even sure what they do here, but you can see that I've built up a bit. And yeah, I don't have much to say about this. It's just components, and I need to keep going. All right, another 10-minute update. It's been about 20 minutes now since I started doing this, and well, I had to turn off my block noises because we now have a piston going 24/7, and I'm going to place down some water here, but this I'm assuming is going to be the chamber in which they spawn, but like again, it kind of just looks like there's been redstone just thrown about the entire place. So there's obviously people who are much smarter than I am building these, so I'm just going to blindly trust them. Never mind, it's for the TNT duper. And for the next 10 minutes, I've been building a tower that now I'm assuming they're going to be spawning it in here, but I also got stuck because this piston pushed me into here, and you cannot get out of there, I found out. So yeah, it's going great. The next update, I have finished that little room down there that looks a lot tinier because now I am about 236 up in the air and just making what I assume will be a water column at the end because there's soul sand down there. Alright, small interruption. It hasn't been 10 minutes, but I apparently don't have enough pistons to finish this, so I'm gonna have to go back and make some. I honestly really hate when farms do this, but oh well. Alright, the bubble column is finished, and all we have to do is build the collection system and then transport the villagers up here. Alright, that scared me, to say the least. Alright then. And here is our storage system. Kind of. Apparently, I had one extra glass pane and one missing glass block, so I now need to go grab that as well. But then this storage is finished, and we just need to get 4 villagers up into each of these holes. We're almost there, but what I think I'm going to do for the villagers, it says to have rails. That just seems a little excessive, so I'm thinking simplistic nether portal. I say simplistic, we'll see how it works out. And don't worry, I had the foresight to actually breed some villagers before this. And this might take a little bit longer, but I think I'm going to just boat over to the area because then we don't have to use up our precious iron on iron rails. It'll be longer for me, but cheaper in the end. Never mind, I forgot that pulling boats with a lead was a thing, so this is probably faster. And with the last villager now in, our raid farm should be completely done. The spaghetti monster that is here, and then the villagers. Alright, so now we need to craft some firework stars actually for this to work and turn them into firework rockets. It's probably way too many, but it's fine. Grab some ominous bottles. We actually need ominous bottles for bed omen 3, so I'm gonna hope that our farm has more than just this one. But thankfully our farm is next to this farm, so that shouldn't be a problem. Alright, we thankfully have a lot, so that's good. Add the rockets into the left chest. Add the ominous bottles into the right chest. Now I need to fill my inventory with random items. For this we'll be doing dirt. Use our looting 3 sword, and we'll just right click. It drinks the bottle, and then I should just be able to not have the farm work. Alright, we'll see what happens. Alright, it seems to be working now, so I'll just let it run while we still have the bottles in there. Alright, interesting. I did get the hero of the village. For how long, I'm not too sure, but I don't also want to look at it because I'm afraid of like ruining the effect. So not ruining the effect, but like ruining the farm. So I'll just leave it until we're finished with the 10 bottles, which we should be very close. 10 bottles should just get us to be 5 minutes, so we'll see how much 5 minutes gets us. And alright, we have run out of the bottles, so we should be good just to go ahead and check our spoils. There's still going to be enemies up there, obviously, but that's fine. That is a lot of items already. What was that? Some tomes of undying, a bunch of saddles, bunch of redstone, more tomes of undying. This is only from 5 minutes. Wow, alright. Yeah, this works wonders. Oh my god, that's a lot of totems. But yeah, wow. All right. I would say, thankfully, this was a great success. And this only took me 2 hours for some reason out of the 3 to 4 that they had said that this was going to take. So I'm pretty happy with that. And also, we could check to see that the Here of the Village lasts, it's about probably 45 minutes, if I were to guess, was what the timer was at. So that's also pretty good. But that is going to be it for this week, actually. I know we didn't do as much as we usually do, but there was a lot of time sunk into doing the things that I did. Because we did go ahead and do double the amount of villagers into the villager hall. Still not getting the terracotta trade, sadly, so we'll be working probably towards the fisherman next week. And then we went ahead and worked on the how do we get here contraption, which we now have that giant room that has all the blocks in there. So we now need to figure out how to get a dolphin, a shulker, another villager, all of that into that area. And then finally, of course, we made that raid farm, which is already working super well. I'm surprised how much drops we got within the span of 5 minutes. But yeah, again, with that farm, let me know how you guys feel about the fact that it is using TNT, because I know not everyone is a fan of TNT dupes, but I feel like we're getting to the point in our series where I might be more lenient with what we use TNT dupers on. If there's a non-TNT duper version, sure, we'll use that, but if it's more efficient to use a TNT duper, then we will probably use it. That's kind of where I'm looking at, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. But yeah, that's going to be it for this week. Thank you all for watching. You guys all take care. Have a great week, and I will see you guys hopefully in the next one. All right, take care. Bye-bye.